is the part of us that is the most subconscious, the most susceptible conditioning, the most susceptible to our past, and the past extending beyond our immediate family and our current life into our ancestral patterning. So the role of biology and genetics, although it's not the ultimate moderator of the way that we feel things and our emotional selves and our temperament, it definitely plays a factor on some level. So in the nature versus nurture, the moon's role is the combination of genetics and biology being our nature, the nature side, and nurture being how we've been looked after, how we've been nourished, and that's quite oftenly associated with the mother figure. However, it really depends on who was the primary caregiver, or who gave the most attention and support during the earlier years. So someone with the moon in Taurus is going to be very, very aware of their physical senses, very aware of the environment in the sense of what you can see, taste, smell, touch. Anything that is very literal is going to be things that the moon in Taurus individual or you respond to. So anything too abstract is just going to create some sort of not so much a dysregulation, but it's not really going to make sense to you because it's not how you process and how you emotionally respond to the world. It's things to do with physical touch and intimacy. It's to do with stroking of the hair or of someone's back, or even the pat on the back. It's the food that touches your lips and your taste buds. It's the felt sensation of silk or satin or wool, just anything that is pretty much going to signal some sort of comfort or some sort of pleasurable sensation is going to be something that the moon in Taurus individual will gravitate towards, because the moon in Taurus individual is wired for creating some sort of routine and some sort of stability in this world, which is not always stable, it's not always serene, but it is what the moon in Taurus individual has learnt, whether it is through previous lives, as in our ancestors, or through our primary life environment now, has learnt to give the highest sense of satisfaction. So creating security is usually of paramount importance here. Getting caught up in arguments, having challenges for the sake of challenges, having anything just up in the air for no reason makes zero sense here. Makes zero sense to the moon and Taurus individual, and I highly doubt, if this is your position, that you understand why anyone would want anything else. Why would anyone want things to be uncertain or constantly changing when things can actually be quite simple and pleasurable and enjoyable? And that's why the moon in Taurus person can be considered by some as a hedonist, for those that don't really understand the importance of enjoying life because it's there, enjoying certain pleasures and comforts because it's a God-given right. I mean, if a moon in Taurus is feeling stressed, the only real way to negate that is through the senses, the five senses. And that's why having a massage or getting a huge hug from a friend or loved one, even getting out in nature, is going to provide some sort of comfort because it grounds you. It takes away the neuroticness of the world, and it takes away the things that aren't real and brings you back to something that is real. What you taste, what you touch, what you smell, these things are real, and if these things are real, this is what matters. And I think that's what guides the Earth, not just Earth moons, but Taurus moons a lot, is because it takes you to the now, and there's no other time except for the now to keep you centered, to keep you grounded, to give you a sense of peace and love and harmony, more importantly. So out of all the earth moons, the moon in Taurus is definitely the most centered and grounded when given all opportunities to be that way. There is no instinctive need to be anything else but that. The simple pleasures are of paramount importance. And I think the moon in Taurus people, although flexibility may be an issue, maybe easygoing, but I think general flexibility can be an issue when it comes to routine. Although there can be some sort of steady-headedness, some sort of stubbornness going on there. Although that there's these things that can create maybe some sort of minor problems in any sort of relationship, I'd say that the moon in Taurus individuals are the most easygoing when allowed their most primary needs. So that's something pretty nice, like being with the moon in Taurus person who is allowed these things, who is allowed to feel close and comforted, can be the most loyal friend, can be the most loving partner, the most faithful partner. Maybe not the most crazy and stimulating and interesting. You've got other friends for that. You've got other ways to get that. But in terms of being provided that kind of love and support, if you give them room for that, I think that's beautiful. That's something that partners should never ever take for granted. The attitude of gratitude, so being grateful about what one already has in their life, is so much easier for moon and Taurus people because there's always something we can be grateful for in this physical world. There's some sort of therapeutic effect that other people, when they're around a grounded Taurus moon, is just, you can't compare it to anything else. Music even, just the sense of music and sound, that can be ultra soothing. Again, it creates some sort of harmony, some sort of, the sound has a way of connecting with the inner rhythms of the body, and that is another way to balance things out too. If you don't really regard intuition or things of the abstract realm to be that important, or if you don't even understand why there's even such a thing as spirituality, or why people go on about it, understanding that some other people, that is they literally feel and they literally get life force out of, even that probably sounds too abstract, get some sort of life force out of these other concepts. Whereas for you, you're lucky, you're so lucky, because with the attitude of gratitude and being really, really grateful for what you have and allowing yourself some simple pleasures, you don't need to be supported by anything else. Just make sure, take very good care of your body, be very aware that your rigidity and your need for routine is not the way that everyone else. Some people can get very stressed from having that, so understanding that can create some sort of create more harmony for you in your interpersonal relationships. Having some sort of tactile hands-on skill, or cultivating more of those, and something you can master, will also provide a sense of security and a sense of competence when you're feeling potentially like, if you ever have issues around self-worth, to master something with your own hands, creating in that way, creating full stop, but a very earthy kind of creativity, whatever flows through. Coming back to what your real needs and values are also very important, because the material world and the values for you are synonymous. And so making sure, because again, it's not abstract here, so what you value and really value, make sure that equates with what you have in your physical world. Because if there's any sort of discordance there, it might be a case of indulgence or taking on too much and letting the material things own you. And if that's the case, that's when there can be some sort of disharmony. So being mindful that that can be something that happens as well. Because there is definitely, because there is some sort of material, there's a material sort of practicality to this sign, to make sure that the need for security doesn't outweigh the need for living in the moment and feeling at peace in the now. I feel like I can talk so much about Moon and Taurus people because I know so many. I know I definitely attract in a lot into my life. And in my experience, yeah, okay, the temper can be pretty intense when they're being pushed too far, but it does take a long while, and kudos to you, because there's something very beautiful about being able to contain yourself. Make sure you do express yourself though, so it doesn't reach the point of explosion. And yeah, just make sure that those in your life are appreciative for that kind of harmony and stability and love that you give them, because that is definitely something that is worth adding to your sense of self-worth and self-esteem. It's beautiful. So I could ramble on, but I'll stop here. And if you have any other questions about Moon and Taurus, feel free to post a comment below. And yeah, also being mindful that there are definitely going to be other chart aspects which can maybe negate in some way some aspects of this. Like I said, like maybe a repression of these parts of the self, or maybe some sort of discomfort with any sort of physical pleasure, but that can be some other issue there rather than something that's actually going to provide you with comfort, because it will. It's just maybe questioning why it gives some sort of discomfort, even though this is more of a rarity. So talk to you soon, and next up I'll talk about Moon and Gemini.